Welcome to Talk of the Nation from inside the Credit One Club at Allegiant Stadium. The Raiders look to get back into the win column this Saturday night against the Miami Dolphins. On tonight's show, we're joined by former Raiders great Lincoln Kennedy and Joe Fortenbaugh from ESPN. Let's begin with former Raiders linebacker Miles Burris, who's also a great actor. Miles, so good to see you again. And I want to begin with a great behind-the-scenes story before you were a fourth-rounder for the Raiders. You once caddied for Phil Villapiano at Fred Biletnikov's tournament. Tell us about that.
Oh, wow. I wasn't expecting that. I didn't know you knew about that one. Actually, I think we might have talked about that. Yeah, Philly V. He was, I caddied for him. I think I was a junior in high school. And it was a wild ride. It was really fun. Phil is a super fun dude, very charismatic, very outgoing. There was never a dull moment, I'll say that.
Well, you're an actor in the new Disney movie, Safety. It's getting a lot of buzz. Talk about the movie and how you got into acting.
Yeah, it's a great movie, true story about a Clemson football player named Ray McElrathbey, and he had to make a very sacrificial move, take care of his brother while he was in college, and kind of put everything on the line for him. Family-friendly movie. Go check it out on Disney Plus, streaming now. I got into acting. Really, I was still chased football for a couple years after my time with the Raiders, and then once everything was done, I kind of always knew I'm gonna try to make this transition at one point. And I was moping on the couch one day, and my wife said, "Hey, you talked about this for years. Let's do it." So I just she got me into acting classes, took some janky headshots of me, and that was the start of it.
You're also a father to Bo. What's more difficult, playing linebacker in the NFL, auditioning for a movie, or playing dad to your son?
Playing linebacker in the NFL, 100%. Yeah, a lot of pressure playing football. A lot of people watching. A lot of things you got to manage, and being a father is amazing. It's come pretty second nature to me, and then being doing an audition, that's even easier. You walk into a room and they didn't like the first take, they'll give you some notes, you try it again until they like it. So all good there.
I want to get into your career. One thing I loved about you is when you came out of the tunnel, you connected with the fans. When you made a big play, you pointed to the crowd, your dad, your family. You loved playing in Oakland, and you really got into the crowd on game day. Talk about that emotion and how that brought you to that level in the NFL.
Yeah, no, I did. I always fed off the crowd. That's a good observation. And I think that's a big part of why I like acting. I think there's just, especially with Oakland, especially in our stadium, especially at home, and there's an energy to our crowd, and that was something that was for me as a player personally was something really big that I fed off of, and so there was a connection there. And whenever you make a big play, you kind of feel that surge of energy of everybody going after it, and I really love that. And I think that's why I still really do love to perform. And football is very much a performance sport, and when it's on game day, when there's actually fans in the crowd.
Miles, I love seeing you at Alumni Weekend up in Napa over the years, and you really connected well with the old teammates. That was really important to you. Can you talk about that special event and how you love to connect with your former teammates and this organization?
Yeah, no, it's very fun. It's always set up really well. The Raiders do an awesome job of taking care of their alumni and putting together events like that, making you feel like you're still part of it. But it's really cool because we've all share a common bond. We've been through similar experiences, and we get to get together and talk about it. And I still feel like we're part of this organization to a degree, which is really special, and which is why I'm now very glad that I was able to play my whole career with the Raiders, because that's my team. There's no other way about it.
Yeah, and it's pretty special when you're in Napa or at any game when you see all those Hall of Famers, right? Looking up to those great players who played before you and seeing them all in one room together, that's always a fun time.
100%. Yeah, a lot of greats in this organization's history.
Hey, finally, tell us about your legacy brick. Every player got one who ever played for the team. That meant a lot to Mark Davis. How'd you feel when you got your brick in the mail?
Yeah, it was just another one of those touches where it's like, hey man, you guys are still here. You're still part of this. You're not playing right now, but we didn't forget about you. And not only that, here's your brick, and you're going to be part of our foundation of our stadium, of the legacy of the Raiders. And I mean, it's just things like that everybody I've talked to, all of my former teammates and former players of the Raiders have proudly either posted of it or texted each other, and everybody really loved that. There was just a really cool thing that they did there.
Well, my kids, we subscribe to Disney Plus for your movie. Continued success as an actor. Can't wait to see you again. Thanks for doing this, Miles. And coming up next, we'll talk to Joe Fortenbaugh from ESPN as we continue on Talk of the Nation.
This has been brought to you by Allegiant, the official airline of the Las Vegas Raiders. Low fares, nonstop flights. Book now, only at Allegiant.com. Cox, proud partner of the Las Vegas Raiders. Intermountain Healthcare, helping people live the healthiest lives possible. Presented by San Manuel Casino, official Southern California casino of Allegiant Stadium.
Welcome back to Talk of the Nation. We welcome in Joe Fortenbaugh from ESPN Daily Wager. And Joe, we both covered the Raiders at their former flagship back in the Bay Area. What do you think of the move of the franchise to the entertainment capital of the world?
I like it so much that I followed them and moved here myself. So that should probably give you the answer right there. I had lived here in Vegas prior to going up to the Bay Area. So to go up there, to cover the Raiders, to watch them come here, and then to have the opportunity to move back to work with ESPN has been tremendous, because the rise of professional sports in this town, starting with hockey, followed by the big players at the NFL, followed by what could come later, just shows how far Las Vegas has come. And the Raiders are the perfect team for this town. The colors, the history, the legacy. Once we get to a point where we can get people in the stadium, I can't wait to see how the city wraps their arms around this franchise.
Well, Joe, the Raiders started off the season really strong, but have struggled as of late, dropping 4 of 5. What do you think was the turning point of the season so far with this team?
That's an interesting question, because I'm wondering, is it something that happened this season, or is it something that's been a problem for them under John Gruden? And that's what I'm trying to figure out. We saw them run out of gas a little bit last season. They started the year 6-4. They closed 1-5. This year, we're seeing something similar. They started 6-3. We were talking about the playoffs. Derek Carr's having one of his best seasons. The team is on the rise. Since then, they've gone 1-4. The only win came against the Jets on that late Hail Mary to Henry Ruggs, which was a beautiful pass from Derek Carr. But they've been outscored by 58 points over that 5-game stretch. So what I'm wondering now is, if you're the Raiders, you got to take a good long look at yourself and ask, what are we doing in the preseason, the offseason, and early in the season that's leading to these negative results late in the year? Because it's starting to be a trend. If you go through John Gruden's history as a head coach, he struggled in the month of December, 23-39 in the month of December, when he comes off a month in November where he's been fantastic, 32-24. So I don't know if it's specifically one thing that happened this year. I think it's a trend that's developing under the head coach. And if they find a way to where they can close stronger, that's going to be what puts this team over the top, gets them into the postseason, and makes them a legitimate, consistent contender.
Joe, Derek Carr's been having a big season before the groin injury, beating the Saints, Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. Assess his play, Derek Carr, this year and what you've seen.
I like it. I think the addition of Henry Ruggs has been huge, because you have this true vertical threat who can stretch the field. Darren Waller doesn't need anything out of my mouth to support or advocate for what he's been doing. He has been fantastic. I think the most important thing about Waller is the New England game. And people would say, well, why are you bringing up the New England game? He wasn't very effective there. Bill Belichick's entire defensive game plan was to take Darren Waller out of that game. And if Bill Belichick is going to design a defensive game plan around one guy, it shows you how important he is to the offense. I think what you've seen for Derek is that he's got a legitimate running game with Josh Jacobs. He's got the vertical threat in Ruggs. Nelson Aguilar has been a tremendous offseason signing. Coming from a guy who grew up in the Philadelphia area as an Eagles fan, you know, Aguilar, that transaction did not sit well with Philadelphia. So to see him doing this well with the Raiders is a testament to the Raiders and Las Vegas front office and how well they assess his value to this team. So Carr struggled at times in his career, but a lot throughout his career, he hasn't had a great arsenal around him. Now he's got the pieces around him, and we're seeing him flourish in that situation.
Joe, let's talk about Allegiant Stadium as we hear. What do you think? If you think of live music, I know you love that. College football, college basketball, boxing. We've gone to fights together, and now obviously football. this stadium, what will it do to help the Raiders in years to come and help this local economy?
So I drive past it every single day on the way in. I live in Henderson, so it's the 215 to the 15, and then you head north before I get off on Flamingo to come to the studios here. And every single day to and from work, I drive past this thing. And every single day, I am amazed at the architecture. I can think back to the days where you and I were going to places like the Meadowlands, Veterans Stadium, Three Rivers Stadium. Now you've got these beautiful, sleek designs. I can't wait to actually get inside the place. And I think the fact that now that a town like this, that so many people like to come visit, the conventions that come here, that stadium is going to open up the avenues for everything. I mean, a Super Bowl, no doubt. A Final Four, you got to imagine that's going to happen. College football, bigger bowl games. You'd have to figure that as great as the Las Vegas Bowl has been, you can start to up the bowl game offerings now because that's what people want to do. People go to the Super Bowl because it's a vacation. They want to go to bowl games because it's a vacation as well as a game. Vegas is one of the ultimate destinations, and that stadium is going to go a long way towards providing those opportunities for this town and for those sports.
Now, Joe, as an analyst on ESPN Daily Wager, you talk about gambling and sports. Let's talk about the growing role gambling is playing in professional sports and how the marriage between the two will look in the future.
It's a revenue opportunity, no doubt. I mean, let's be honest, this is something that's been in the shadows for a very long time, millions, if not billions of dollars. You hear the numbers every year during March Madness and during the Super Bowl about how much will be bet illegally. So now we find ourselves at a time in this country where we need to open up new revenue streams. We need to create jobs. This is an opportunity where you can do that. You can tax that. And I think New Jersey has shown everybody that outside of Nevada, it can be done and it can be done profitably. Now, there's some growing pains. You know, the operators have to understand how to treat the customers. The customers have how to understand how to be responsible with it. You know, we all want to be adults and we all want freedoms, but we've got to be responsible in the process. So there's a lot of opportunity here. And now with the sports leagues, it opens up ventures in which teams can partner, advertising with different providers, things of that nature. So the opportunities are there. We hope that people, like with everything, we can handle it responsibly, but it's a lot of fun because now you bring it out of the shadows and it creates some content, some opportunity for people to become more educated about it. And it's just another avenue to have fun. I personally have always been a big fan. I've talked about it for a while. It's why I moved to Vegas in 2011, but I do understand there are a lot of people that are still very big supporters of the traditional broadcast and that they don't necessarily want to hear these references creeping in. I can understand that completely. That's why I think there's going to be an avenue for separate broadcasts entirely, alternative broadcasts in which you can consume multiple levels of content as you watch an NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB game, or any other sport for that matter.
All right, Joe, let's fly through some NFL topics. Who's your MVP race leader?
Well, it's going to come down to Mahomes and Rodgers right now, and as resistant as I have been to Rodgers throughout the course of the season, I feel like I have to give him the edge. He's got an average defense at best, but the way he is playing right now, with the weapons around him and the numbers he's putting up week in and week out, this is the best I think we may have ever seen him. Patrick Mahomes is right there. So if you go Mahomes over Rodgers, I can understand. Mahomes has been great, but I think the Chiefs, despite the fact that they're still winning games, it's not looking pretty. And I think that's going to hurt his chances a little bit with the voters. But both guys have been tremendous. I lean slightly to Aaron Rodgers.
Who do you have as the front runner for Coach of the Year?
So Brian Flores in Miami has done a remarkable job, absolutely remarkable job. I still give the edge to Sean McDermott in Buffalo. I do. And I know some people will disagree with that, but Buffalo hasn't won the division since 95. Buffalo hasn't been a legitimate contender since 95, right? Now, all of a sudden, not only are they one of the big-time players in the league, they took a quarterback that everyone thought wasn't going to be any good, and they've turned him into one of the best in the business, one of the bright young stars. That says something about continuity, coaching, and patience. For me, the edge goes to Sean McDermott, but Brian Flores is right there.
Now, Joe, I don't know if you need a mulligan, but who do you have for the Super Bowl, your Super Bowl prediction?
Ooh, so right now, you see, the thing is, I've really, I've been advocating for the Rams for quite some time because I love the defense and what McVay does from a coaching perspective. I do believe they're going to get the Seahawks this weekend. I have been so resistant to the idea of Green Bay because I just keep waiting for the bottom to fall out. But if you grab the number 1 seed this year, it's such a huge advantage because you're the only team getting a bye. And even though we don't really have home field advantage, that weather is going to be big for the Packers. So I have to find myself leaning to them right now. In the AFC, it's wide open. I do think there's some opportunity to beat the Chiefs. But to be honest with you, Pittsburgh was going to be my pick for a while, and they have completely fallen off the deck. I'd like to say Buffalo. It would go a long way at my house. My wife grew up in Buffalo. She's a Bills fan. My in-laws are in town. So I'll say the Bills, and then make sure you let me know when I can get this on TV for them to see, to buy myself some goodwill for the holiday season.
Thanks, Joe. All the best. Continued success on ESPN. When we come back, the great Lincoln Kennedy previews the Dolphins on Talk of the Nation.
Brought to you by Modelo, setting the gold standard for authentic Mexican beer since 1925. Modelo, brewed for those with a fighting spirit.
Welcome back to Talk of the Nation. We bring in former Pro Bowler, the great Lincoln Kennedy, kind enough to join us. And Lincoln, the Raiders had it down to the 4-yard line against the Chargers, prime time. What happened in that game? What happened in the loss?
Well, with the COVID, everything in the short week, it was so hard really to prepare this team to go through and install a number of things. They got very predictable when they got down. And it was unfortunate that poor execution caused the fact that they couldn't get into the end zone. And that actually made out to be the difference in the football game.
When we work together on game day, you and I find out about the same time who's available. Availability, Lincoln, has been the topic this entire year. How are you dealing with that as a broadcaster as you prepare for these games?
I'm only knowing who's taking the field when I actually see them on the field. So much has changed. It can change in a flash. You've got COVID, you've got injuries, you've got coaches shutting guys down because they want to see other people. So as much as I do. When they take the field and we see the number out there, then I can get my roster right because that's who I know is playing.
But Lincoln, I want to go back to your great career. There were times where you didn't know if you were going to go on Sunday when it was Thursday, Friday before a game, but you found a way to go. What was that like as a former player, now covering it as an analyst?
A lot of these young guys have to learn how to be pros. And what I mean by that is they have to learn how to play hard when it's actually game day, but make sure they're available for the next game. It's been such a roller coaster ride due to COVID, due to injuries, due to concussions, everything that's been going on this season. I can't imagine what this coaching staff has put through because you just don't know, as you mentioned, who's going to be out there, who's going to be available, and who's going to be able to play.
Well, we saw good news for Darren Waller. Josh Jacobs are Pro Bowlers. Rodney Hudson got snubbed. I talked to Coach Gruden about it. He couldn't believe it. I want to go back to your 3 Pro Bowls. Were you ever snubbed, and how did you take it?
Well, I tell you what, the first 3 years I was an alternate before I finally, in 2000, got a chance to talk to Tony Baselli. Baselli was hurt, and I said, look, you don't even need to go to Pro Bowl. You're hurt, not going to play anyways. Let me go. That's how I got on my first one. But the 3 years prior to that, just making an alternate really left a bad taste in my mouth because I thought I was playing some pretty good football.
Coach also mentioned Colton Miller. What'd you see from him this year? Because Coach thought he should have been under higher consideration for a Pro Bowl honor.
Totally agree. Totally agree. He is the stable franchise left tackle that the Raiders are going to depend on for the next 10 years. He's gotten even better than he was last year. And last year he played a lot, really injured. He battled through some injuries this year after the Cleveland game. You saw that ankle go down. He was down for a little bit, but he has been doing a wonderful job. He is playing some really good football.
Lincoln, this is a big game. The Raiders are facing the Dolphins. We thought it would be more of a playoff battle in advance of the playoffs. So Raiders got to treat it that way. Miami is a very good team. Let's start with Tua at quarterback. What have you seen from him in his rookie year?
Well, he's taking his lumps just like any rookie quarterback would. But you know what? He's a gifted, talented quarterback who's learning how to play within the system. More importantly, he's learning how to use his legs. Now, I don't know if Brian Flores and that staff really want him to do all that, but he's finding ways of getting the ball in the end zone. What you can really rely on with this Dolphins team, JT, is his defense. This is a really good defense the Raiders are going to have to take on.
Yeah, I want to stay with that. Flores, and is it scheme, Lincoln, or is it these individual players going rogue and making big plays because they turn it over, they attack the quarterback, and they're unbelievable in coverage, something the Raiders have struggled with on defense?
Yeah, it's a lot of it is scheme, and Brian Flores getting the people in the right place at the right time. But most importantly, it's about execution. You know as well as I do. Coaches coach, players play. These players are going out there playing with an attitude. They really want this. Miami has been, as a franchise, has been down for a long time, and now they're on the verge of something special. They have the nucleus to make it happen.
Lincoln, let's talk about pride. You were a great example of that, and the players that came before you. The Raiders still mathematically alive, but if you look at the playoff push, a lot of disappointment that they should have been farther along in a playoff run. What are these players playing for as the Dolphins are in town?
Well, they're still playing for an extra game check. If they can take care of business, and now they have to get some help. But if anything, you want to stop the bleeding because this has been a very frustrating 5 weeks of football for the Raiders. Even though you have the miracle to Meadowlands, you still got to find a way to pull things together and play for pride. This team started off awfully fast, got a little full of themselves, and then were humbled. And since then, haven't been able to pick it up. So they got to come out of the funk, stop the bleeding, and put some pride on the table. Put on a good show, because this is going to be a Christmas Day primetime. Always
great seeing you and working with you, my friend. Happy holidays. When we come back, my closing thoughts on Talk of the Nation.
Coors Light, an official beer of Raider Nation, made to chill.
Welcome back to Talk of the Nation from Allegiant Stadium, and there is still a lot to play for the Silver and Black, even though playoff chances are slim. Coming off that primetime loss to the Chargers, that one hurt. And the Raiders have to bounce back right now. A winning record is on the line. This team got off to a 6-3 start. They were one of the most talked about teams in all the NFL. Now they've been struggling. And it's time for the Pro Bowlers, the leaders on this team, to step up and carry this team to the finish line. Momentum is critical heading into this time of the season here. Players know that they're playing for their future, for this team, potentially for another team, and most importantly, they're playing for the fans that will be in this stadium next year, and this place will be sold out, and the fans want to see great Raiders football. That's the expectations of this franchise and in this city right now. So the Raiders have a very good team coming into town in the Miami Dolphins, and they'll have to play their best. For everyone at Silver and Black Productions, I'm JT. Happy holidays, and go Raiders.
This has been brought to you by Allegiant, the official airline of the Las Vegas Raiders. Low fares, nonstop flights. Book now, only at Allegiant.com. Intermountain Healthcare, helping people live the healthiest lives possible. Brought to you by Credit One Bank, the official credit card of the Raiders. Cox, proud partner of the Las Vegas Raiders.